When I did my initial Bushnell Launch Pro review almost 2 years ago, the title of that was, "It's fantastic, but." It's fantastic, but it's expensive. It's fantastic, but you need a PC if you want to use any of the simulator software. It's fantastic, but the software setup is a little bit of a pain. Well, I've now spent a lot of time with this device. In fact, it is my reference unit. It is the most accurate launch monitor I have, so it's what I usually use when I'm comparing all of my other launch monitors for review. But over the last 2 years, a lot has changed with the Launch Pro, and as we head into 2024, it was about time to do an up-to-date review because I wanted to make sure that you had all of the most accurate information about this device if you are thinking about buying it. Because to be honest, a lot of the most important things about this have changed since that first review. So if you're in the market for a Launch Pro or any other high-end launch monitor, make sure you keep watching. I think you're gonna dig today's video. Real quick, before we get to the rest of our Launch Pro review, if you're still not sure which launch monitor is right for you, go take our 30-second quiz. You're gonna answer 5 or 6 questions about what you need, and I'm going to make my best recommendation for what the best device is going to be for you. It's really quick, and if you've been on the fence between a few devices, I think that you're going to find a lot of value into it. All right, back to the review. First, let's clear up one common point of confusion when it comes to the Launch Pro. This is the Bushnell Launch Pro. This is the Foresight GC3. They look identical, and honestly, that's because they are. You see, in the summer of 2021, Bushnell bought Foresight, and then a few months later, they released the Launch Pro. Essentially, these are two identical devices. The hardware is exactly the same. I've tested them side by side. The results are almost exactly the same. The only difference between these two units is the way they are priced, and we're going to talk about that later on. But I just wanted to clarify this because if you've seen both of them and you're a little confused as to how they relate to each other and why they look like they're the same, it's because, well, they're pretty much the same. So first off, when it comes to first impressions, the Bushnell Launch Pro looks fantastic. When you're comparing it to less expensive launch monitors, it looks good, it feels good, it's heavy, it's beefy. This thing feels professional, in part because it is. When you compare this to a Foresight GC Quad or a TrackMan, the accuracy, it's gonna be relatively negligible. Yes, those will be more accurate, but for the average person, this is gonna get you where you need to go. In fact, I would say this is the least expensive launch monitor I've used that truly feels like a professional device. The SkyTrack Plus, the Mevo Plus, both excellent devices, and for a lot of people, I would recommend those over this. But when it comes to a device that feels like a truly professional tool, this is definitely a step above those other units. All right, let's talk setup of the Launch Pro. During my initial review a couple years ago, this was my biggest critique of the Bushnell Launch Pro. It was kind of a pain to set up. Not because the system and the process should have been that difficult, but it just kind of seemed like things didn't always work the way I wanted it to. So I ended up having to be on the phone with Bushnell support multiple times to get everything working properly, and I did, and once it's working properly, it's fine, but it was a critique early on. The good news is that in 2 years, they seem to have mostly ironed out those details. When you turn this thing on, you charge it up, there's a QR code, you scan the QR code, you set up your Foresight account, and pretty quickly, you are going to be good to go. There is still a little bit of confusion because while it is a Bushnell Launch Pro, all of the software is still Foresight software. So often you find yourself in this kind of purgatory between Foresight land and Bushnell land, and that can be a little bit confusing. That's one of the areas where I do prefer using the Foresight GC3, even though they're the same unit, just having the branding all be from the same company, it really just makes more sense. The Launch Pro is a camera-based system, and what is great about this is it takes up about half the space of many Doppler-based systems. So for instance, the FlightScope Mevo Plus, a TrackMan, the Rapsodo MLM2 Pro, those are all gonna sit 7 to 8 feet behind you, and then you're also going to need 7 to 8 feet in front of you. Whereas this, you tee up here, it sits 2 feet in front of the ball, and away you go. It works really well. The built-in screen is fantastic. So when you drop the ball in the hitting area, it will show you in the hitting screen exactly where it is so that you know that you're ready. If you are looking to build a simulator or do something at home and you have limited space, that is going to be one of the biggest reasons to go with this or something like the SkyTrack Plus as opposed to one of those units that sits behind the ball. One of my favorite features of the Launch Pro that most other devices in this price category don't have is the built-in screen. So if you're just looking to have a casual practice session, go out to the range, you don't care about the iPad app, you don't want to bring out a computer, you can do that and still get accurate information. You hit the ball and within a second, all the data shows up on the screen. It's really nice. But for as much as I love the screen on the Launch Pro, it also provides one of my biggest annoyances of the product. And that is, you hit your shot, a second later, it gives you all your data, that's great, but then usually very quickly, within like 5 seconds, it will cycle back to the ready screen. So as I'm sitting there looking, digesting, I'm trying to get my spin numbers, I'm looking at my carry distance, quickly it will change the screen and I have to go down and swipe back to get to those numbers. So if you're doing that every single time, it just gets to be a little bit annoying. Also, they have now changed the way they sell these. And we're going to talk more about this in a minute, but there is a club data screen. And so if you're not careful and you don't have a device that has club data, then it will cycle to the club data screen as well, which won't show you any metrics. So if you don't have a Launch Pro that displays club data, you want to make sure you turn that off in the settings. It took me a while to realize this, and that wasn't an option when I first got the Launch Pro, but fortunately it is now. And if right now you're saying, wait, are there different versions, club data, no club data? We're gonna get to that in a second because that is one of the major differences and major changes that has happened with the Launch Pro as well. On the screen on the Launch Pro, it provides 6 main metrics. Those include ball speed, launch angle, direction, carry distance, total spin, and spin axis. So you've got a lot of really useful information, but it's not as much information as you might get on the Mevo Plus or a SkyTrack Plus. The difference is in order to get that information on those, you're using an app. And you can also still get that information and a whole bunch more if you're using the FSX Pro app. That is the mobile app that Foresight uses for this device. Now, mentioning the FSX Pro app kind of brings me to a point where I realize we're going to have to cover pricing and subscriptions before we go any further. But I do want to go back to accuracy real quick, because a lot of you are going to be saying, is this accurate? Is this a good device? I have zero complaints about the accuracy of the Launch Pro. It doesn't matter whether you're using it indoors into a net, indoors in a simulator setup, or outdoors on the range, it works great. I found it to be as accurate as any device that I've used to the best of my measuring ability using a rangefinder, comparing it to other products, just knowing my distances. It is one of the most accurate launch monitors out there, and that should not be a concern for you. That being said, as we get into pricing and subscriptions, those might be an issue for you. And honestly, those are where the biggest changes have been made between when I did my initial review almost 2 years ago and now. So first, let's talk about the price of the unit itself. So years ago, when the Launch Pro first came out, it was priced at $3,999. Then they dropped it to $3,499. And during sales, I had seen it as cheap as $2,999. And when you got that unit, it provided both ball metrics and club metrics like club speed, angle of attack, and other metrics like that. Now, over the course of the last month or two, Bushnell has completely changed their pricing strategy. You can now get a Bushnell Launch Pro for $1,999, which makes it $1,000 cheaper than the SkyTrack Plus and right in line with the FlightScope Mevo Plus. But once you start digging a little bit deeper, you realize that there's a lot of hidden stuff associated with that. So that's going to be for the ball-only model. And I think that price is great. It allows people to get into a professional level launch monitor who might not need all that extra club data. If you want the Launch Pro that has club data, this is kind of the traditional one that they have always sold, the price is $3,499. So that's kind of the main price that it has been for a while. The difference is they have now brought in this cheaper model. But that's just the tip of the iceberg when we're talking about pricing here. It used to be with the Launch Pro, there were 3 different tiers of subscriptions. There was Basic, which really didn't allow you to do much of anything. Then there was Silver, and then there was Gold. And Gold is what really got you access to all of the simulator features, all of the extra data. That was the one you wanted. If you were going to spend this much for a launch monitor, you were probably going to get the Gold subscription. But the Gold subscription was $699 a year. That's a lot of money no matter who you are. So to drop thousands of dollars on a launch monitor and be paying $700 a year on top of that, it's kind of a tough pill to swallow. Well, at least on the subscription side of things, it's gotten a little bit better and it's gotten less confusing. Now there is only one pricing tier, the Gold tier, and that costs $500 a year, $499 a year. And the primary thing that gets you is that gets you access to the entire suite of Foresight software. So it's going to allow you to use FSX Pro on your phone or iPad. It's going to allow you to use FSX 2020, which is their previous generation simulator software that you need a PC for. It's also going to get you access to FSX Play, which is their newest simulator software, and it is awesome. We're going to talk more about that in just a second. One little bonus feature that they've also added to this gold tier is you now get access to Awesome Golf. So the graphics are nowhere near as good as what you're going to find on the Foresight software, but it has a ton of fun games, and a lot of people really love using Awesome Golf. So if you're looking for just a more fun arcade kind of setup, that's going to be a nice little bonus for you. So the Bushnell Launch Pro now has a lower barrier to entry. $2,000 gets you in the door with the basic ball-only model. $500 a year, that's going to get you access to all the world-class software. So for a starting price of $2,500, you are getting one of the best golf simulator solutions out there. That being said, all of these great changes do come with the downside, and there's a lot of people that are unhappy about this. Now, if you want to use any third-party simulator software, maybe you're thinking I'll buy the ball data only version of the Launch Pro for $2,000, and then I use GS Pro for my simulator software. I pay $250 a year. I don't even need the Foresight software. Well, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to do that now. Now, in order to use any third-party simulator software with the Launch Pro, you have to have the Gold package. So that means if you want to use software that's not included in that package, like GS Pro or the Golf Club 2019, not only are you paying $500 a year, you're also going to have to pay for that subscription fee for GS Pro or whatever the additional software is. So what you used to be able to do for free, or just the cost of the software, now just to use the software you've got, you on top of that are going to have to pay the subscription fee. So personally, this doesn't bother me as much as some people, in part because I wasn't one of those people that was using third-party software and now have to pay more for it. But honestly, I've had such a good experience with the Foresight simulation software that I don't see myself necessarily wanting to go anywhere else. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. So all that to say, the pricing has gotten simpler, but it might be even more confusing just because they change the price on this so often. My gut and what I'm sensing is that the price is going to be like this for a while, so you can kind of bank on $2,000 for the ball only, $3,500 for ball and club data, $500 a year for the Gold package, and maybe during the holiday season, you might see a little bit of a sale on that, but I think that you can expect those to be the prices for the foreseeable future. One last thing before I switch over to talk about software, you might also be saying, well, if the Foresight GC3 is the exact same unit, should I get that over the Launch Pro? And the answer is probably not. You see, the ball-only GC3 costs $6,000 or $4,000 more than the Launch Pro. The benefit to this is it's unlocked. You have no subscription. You get all of that software stuff right from the beginning and you never have to pay another dime for it. But considering there's a $4,000 difference, it's going to take you 8 years of paying for the Launch Pro subscription before you have spent the same amount of money that you would on the GC3. And honestly, 8 years is a long time. There's a good chance by then you'll have moved on to something else, or they'll have changed things, or there's going to be other options. And so for me, even though as much as I love the GC3 for as great as it is, the Launch Pro just seems like the better option. The caveat to that might be if you can find a way to write this off and you want to take the full write-off right up front, you can do that. If you're a professional and you're using this as part of your business, having the Foresight GC3 may make more sense. But for most people, even if you hate subscriptions, it's still probably going to be cheaper, unless you're planning on having this for a decade or more, it's probably going to be cheaper to go with the Launch Pro than the GC3. So we know those two devices are pretty much exactly the same. We know the Launch Pro is super accurate, and we know the pricing has gotten a little bit wild, but hopefully better for most people. So where does that leave us? Well, we haven't talked a whole lot about the software. So with the Launch Pro and the Gold package, you are getting access to the suite of Foresight software solutions. The first one is FSX Pro, which is their mobile app. And honestly, I don't love it. When you compare it to the mobile app for the Mevo Plus or for the SkyTrack Plus, it just doesn't look as good. It's not as user-friendly. Don't get me wrong. You can do a lot with it. It is powerful. If you are a professional and you're used to using kind of more professional, less user-friendly data solutions, then you're probably gonna be right at home with this. But there's definitely a little bit of a learning curve. And I personally don't like using the mobile app on the Launch Pro as much as I do on the SkyTrack or the Mevo Plus. That being said, it totally gets the job done, and the more time you spend with it, the easier it gets. So the second piece of software you're getting is FSX 2020. And that was, for the last few years, that was the flagship simulator software for Foresight. There's a ton of courses available, there's a ton of modes, and the graphics look pretty good. It's fine, but it's nothing earth-shattering, especially when you compare it to FSX Play. So FSX Play is Foresight's newest simulator solution, and to put it simply, it looks spectacular. It's the single best simulator solution that I have used at home, and it's the first one in a while where I find myself wanting to go back and use it some more and keep playing because it's just so well executed. When you get the gold package, it comes with 25 courses. Most of these courses are fine. There's a few unique ones, but it's not going to be the one that you'd be like bending over backwards to go and play. So when you open up FSX Play, it's very easy to set up. The setup screen is very customizable, very intuitive, and it comes with 25 courses. You can also purchase more courses a la carte. The problem is they're expensive. They're $150 per course. The 25 it comes with are going to be great. They look great. There's some fun ones in there, but if you want a lot of the like truly bucket list courses like Pebble Beach, you're going to have to pay more for it. And when I did my initial review of the Launch Pro, I did not have my own gaming PC, so I could not test out the simulator functions. But now that I do have it, and I have used FSX Play, it is absolutely worth it. Like, shockingly good. The graphics are a huge step up from FSX 2020. Running on my machine, I had it in medium settings and it looked great. I turned it up to ultra and it still mostly ran really well and definitely had a noticeable uptick in graphics, but it wasn't super dramatic. So even if you run it in slightly lower quality so that your machine can handle it better, it still works really well. The downside to FSX Play is being newer software, they haven't rolled over all of the courses and all of the features from FSX 2020 yet. So if you're looking for some of those extra game modes and a handful of extra courses, those aren't yet available on FSX Play, but I imagine they will be very soon. The one last thing I will say about this is playing number 6 at Pebble Beach and hitting that drive and seeing it go up and then unfortunately out of bounds, hitting that, it was one of the coolest golf simulator shots I've hit. And then going over to the par 3 third and being able to hit that. It was the closest I've felt in a simulator to what it feels like to actually play the course. And I've played Pebble Beach on a lot of different simulator solutions, and honestly, none of them have held a candle to my experience with FSX Play. So where does that leave us with the Launch Pro as we head into 2024? Honestly, I don't think there's ever been a better time to buy this unit. A lot of the issues I had early on during that initial review, they've been ironed out. The software is less buggy, the setup process is better, the tiers are less confusing and less expensive. Yes, it is a pain you now have to have a subscription to be able to use any third-party products, but considering the device itself is now cheaper, it might work out in your favor. For all the benefits though, if you're planning to buy the Launch Pro, you also have to be mindful of the plus. So you're looking at $2,000 minimum to buy the unit. You're looking at a $500 subscription fee. If you want to use any of the simulator software I've been raving about, you have to have a gaming PC. Unlike the SkyTrack, unlike the Mevo Plus, those come with mobile E6 access. So if you want to play simulator on your phone or your iPad, you can do that. With the Launch Pro, there is none of that. You have to have a gaming PC. Not to mention all of the stuff that goes along with setting up your home simulator. So it's easy to look at the price of $1,999 and be like, yeah, I'm sold. But if you want to do it right, and if you want to take advantage of all of the extra features that this has, you're gonna have to spend quite a bit more than that. If your budget is set at like $2,000 and you really don't want to go more than that, then I'd probably look at the Mevo Plus over this. There's no subscription fee, you're gonna get more data, you're gonna have more versatile simulator options, and I have been very impressed. The Mevo Plus is still the device I use the most for my own personal practice. But if what you're looking for is a professional level launch monitor that has unbelievable simulator capabilities and isn't gonna take up a whole lot of space, then honestly, the Launch Pro is one of the very best options on the market. Oh, real quick, one more thing you might be thinking, you're like, cool, you compared the Launch Pro to the SkyTrack, to the Mevo Plus, to the GC3, but the thing I'm thinking about is the Launch Pro versus the Uneekor Eye Mini. What are your thoughts on that? Well, I'm gonna have thoughts. My Eye Mini literally just arrived yesterday, but I have not even taken it out of the box yet. So I can't give you any firsthand feedback or opinions on that because I have not used them, I've not compared them yet, but keep an eye out in the next couple weeks as I will definitely be doing a video comparing the two products. And once I do that comparison, I will make sure to update this video with the link below. My name's Sean Ogle, I'm the founder of this thing here at Breaking 80, where we do cool golf product reviews and golf course reviews. If you got some value out of this, maybe hit subscribe, thumbs up, drop a comment. I'm happy to help however I can. And if this has only confused you more and you're still trying to figure out what the best launch monitor is for you, remember, go take the quiz below. I think you're going to find it very valuable. With that, I hope you have an excellent day, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace. In fact, I would say this is the least expensive launch monitor I've used that truly feels like a professional device. The SkyTrack Plus, both excellent devices, and for a lot of people, I would recommend those over this.